Good morning, children. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is heredity and evolution. And you all are familiar with the term heredity. Am I right? Who can tell me what is meant by heredity? Yes, it's the transmission of characters from parents to the offsprings, or from one generation to another. And what is this evolution? You know that it was believed that we have evolved from the monkeys. Actually, it is not right. We and monkeys, we have the common ancestors only. As well as monkeys, we both have the common ancestors. So that the gradual change that takes place in an organism over millions and millions of years, that result in the formation of what? New organism. That is evolution. It's a gradual change that occurs to a organism, and what happens over millions and millions of years, that result in the formation of what? New type of species or new type of organism. So as per the CBSE, you all know CBSE has deleted some portions. That is second chapter, control and coordination, is not there for the examination. And likewise, from this chapter, heredity and evolution, CBSE has deleted the evolution portion. You want to study only about the heredity. Clear? Yes, up to heredity, up to sex determination, one section is there. Up to that only you are supposed to study this year for the main examination. Clear? So I just mentioned about evolution only. It's a gradual change that happens or occurs to an organism over millions of years, that result in the formation of what? New organism. That is known as what? Evolution. So now we can move on to the again heredity. You know that why these characters are transmitted. In the last chapter we discussed, how these organisms or how the offsprings are produced from the parents. And you know that some characters are transmitted from parents to the offspring. That you all know it. So only some characters are transmitted, but at the same time we all have some differences also. And that differences, it is termed as what? Variation. That also we already discussed in the last chapter. And this variation is very important for an organism to survive in new environmental condition. That is very, very important. If the variation is beneficial only, don't think that all sort of variation help an organism to survive in new environmental condition. It depends. If that variation, if it is suitable, that means if it matches with the environment, or if the environment agrees or support that variation, in such situation only the organism can survive, or a species can survive in new environmental condition. In the textbook you could see the schematic representation of the division of bacteria. You can see it. After the class, please go through the text. First, one bacteria is there, it divides into two, then that each divides again into two. So likewise the generation arises from the bacteria, and you could see that slight differences are there. You can see when you observe the diagram, you could see slight differences are there in the offsprings. Normally in the case of sexually reproducing organisms only, less scope for variation is there. But if variation occurs in asexually reproducing organism, bacteria, it reproduces asexually because only single parent is involved. If any variation happens in asexually reproducing organism, it is just because of the sudden change in the gene structure. We can call this what? Mutation. Sudden change in the gene structure that may result in what? Variation in asexually reproducing organism. Asexually reproducing organism, what is responsible for what variation? It is sudden change in the genetical structure or sudden change in the gene that may result in what? Variation. And it happens not in a single generation. It happens, after so many generations. Clear? So, and even though in the case of bacteria also, if that variation helps the organism to survive. For example, some bacteria, they are living in the hot climatic condition. Some are living in the, the hot water springs. Some are living in the extremely cold climatic condition, and some are living in the space. Clear? So, the organism to live in a suitable environmental condition, that organism will continue to reproduce. Otherwise, that will come to an end. So the environment plays a very important role in deciding or accepting which type of organism could survive there. Clear? It is applicable in the case of each and every individual also. We know that if we have variations, of course we all have variations. Especially in our behavior pattern also, we should show with certain variations. But that variation should help us to survive in new environmental condition. Now, of course, I could say that no, now you all are forced to attend the online classes, and we all know we don't have any other options. Till the school opens, no, you are supposed to watch these online classes. And some students already they had adjusted with it, no, they are studying properly. But still some students they wanted to. They are eagerly waiting for the school to reopen, and they are not giving attention to these online classes. In such situation, you all know that no, definitely that affect your studies if you are showing least interest. So in this case also, this variation, if our attitude should be adjust with the new environmental condition. Now our environmental condition is what? First one is the corona. Am I right? You are not supposed to go out. We are supposed to stay home, right? Yes. So if you are not obeying that, definitely no, that change you should adjust. Otherwise we will get the disease. Another thing, no, you all the students, not only in our school, all the students throughout the world, they are supposed to attend the online classes. So you should adjust to that new environmental condition. Then only you can survive. That means you can flourish in your studies. Okay, we can again come to the section. So we know that heredity, of course, it is that means the parents' characters are generally transmitted to the offspring. And you know that in the case of sexually reproducing organism, as well in the case of human beings, 23 chromosomes they receive from the father and 23 they receive from the mother. So total how many chromosomes? Yes, 46 chromosomes are there. So here you know that if as they receive, no, they are receiving some amount of features, amount of characteristics similar to the parents. Similarly, no, they have all certain variations also. So see, parent, father to mother, clear? And what is formed? Father and mother, child. So this child has got some similarities or features similar to the parents and some differences also. When this child gets married, just imagine this is a male and it gets married with a female. Again, they will have another child. When we compare this child with of course, this child grandparents are your father and mother. Clear? This child father and mother is the grandparent of this child. So what about the similarities? Slight similarities out there, isn't it? We could find lot of differences. Am I right? If you have father and mother, you are more similar to your father and mother. But when you compare yourself with your grandparents, again more differences are there. Again, when you come next generation, again differences increases. That we can say that accumulation of that differences are known as we could say accumulation of what? Variation. That's it. The variation get what? Accumulated as generation passes by. Accumulation of variation. Accumulation of variation. As the generation passes by, the variation also get accumulated or means increases. So when we compare ourselves with our great grandparents, no, lot of differences are there. We couldn't even identify a single similarity. That means as the generation passes by, the variation only increases. Clear? So in this chapter, you are going to find out how these characters are transmitted or what is the mechanism of inheritance. Mechanism of inheritance. How only some characters are transmitted, why some characters are not transmitted. So we are going to get answer for all these questions in this chapter. We will find the answers. Why you know that sometimes you may say that, you may think that your both parents, father and mother, both are tall, but you may be short. Then you may get confused why it happens so. Then when you look at your grandparents, then you may say that at least one of the grandparents, they may be, yes, or he or she may be short. So likewise, so that in this chapter you are going to see how it happens. Why you are getting only some characters from your parents, or sometimes you are getting some features or characteristics of your grandparents or any of your blood relation. So here we are going to see it, and before that I want to tell you one thing. You know that a simple example we can say that if you just observe your earlobe. This is the earlobe. See, this is the earlobe, and normally in my case the earlobes are attached. You could see no gap in between here. There is no gap here, and my earlobes are attached to this facial skin. Hope you can see it. But it is a variation. Many others are having that free earlobes. Now you can check which type of earlobe you are having. Is it free or attached like this? So this attached earlobe is a variation. And those who are having this attached earlobes, you can just check your parents whether they are having the attached earlobes or not. If they don't have, then you can just ask your grandparents whether they have it. So this type attached earlobe is a variation. If you are in the class, then definitely you can easily compare your earlobes with others. But now we don't have that option. So you just check yourself and you can compare it with your parents. Clear? Okay. So now you are going to find out how this mechanism of inheritance happens or takes place. It was put forward by the scientist Gregor. One more question you can expect. Johann Mendel. He was a scientist who explained how these characters or how some features are transmitted from parents to the offspring. He clearly explained how it happened. How only some features are transmitted from parents to the offspring. Actually, this Gregor Johann Mendel, he was an Austrian monk. You know who is a monk? Yes. Or similar to the priest, lives in the monastery. Actually, his ambition was to become a teacher. And he was very good in mathematics and science. So he tried to become a teacher, and he attended an examination, but unfortunately he couldn't clear that. But that didn't disappoint him at all. He continued his work on maths and science, and in that monastery in Austria, not Australia, Austria, in that monastery, in front of the monastery, a very good garden was there. So he started to do his experiments by selecting the plant from that garden. And it is because of that, his enthusiasm that made us realize how these characters are transmitted. So he blended his knowledge of science as well as mathematics to find out the answer for this question. How only some characters are transmitted and why some characters are not transmitted. Why we are not exactly like your parents. Why we share some features with our grandparents. And we are going to get the answer for all these questions through Mendel study. Clear? Yes. So Mendel, he selected the garden pea plant for doing his experiments. Garden pea plant for doing his experiments. Then you may wonder why he selected the garden pea plant. Numerous plants are there in the vegetable garden. Then why did he select the garden pea plant? It's because of main 4 reasons are there. First one, this plant is very easy to grow. Don't want much attention. Very easy. Next one, short lifespan. Short lifespan. So within 3 months after sowing, definitely he had got the harvest. So very easily, within in 1 year, mainly 3 to 4 generations he used to get. So very easy to grow. Short lifespan only. It doesn't need only 1 year to grow. Short lifespan. So second reason is that short lifespan that made him select the plant. Next one is that bisexual flowers. Can you tell me what is meant by bisexual flowers? Yes, a flower is having both the sexes, male sex organs as well as female sex organs are seen in a single flower. Such flowers are known as bisexual flowers. Clear? Okay, so this is the one feature, very easy to grow, don't want much care. Next one, short lifespan. Next one, bisexual flowers. Last one, easily distinguishable characteristics. Easily distinguishable characteristics. Easily distinguishable characteristics. Who can tell me what is meant by easily distinguishable characteristics? Characters of the plant that can be easily differentiated. And 7 distinguishable characteristics are there for this peat plant. 7 types. 7 types of easily distinct, contrasting characters. Another one is the opposite of it. And first is what about the height? First one is tall, other one is the short. You could see some plants as tall and some plants as what? Short. No medium plants. He couldn't see any medium plants in the case of garden peat plant. Next one is the color of the flower. Color of flower. White, purple, or we can say it is the violet. Purple, or in the textbook it is written as violet. So purple or violet. Purple or violet. Next one, position of the flower. Position of the flower. Axial, terminal. You know what is axial and what is terminal? Just imagine, you know, that if the, if is there, you know, if the flower is seen in the side, we can call it as what? Axial. If the flower can be seen in the top, we can call it as what? Terminal. So in some plants, he has seen the flowers in the side, that is the axial. In some plants, he could see that the flower can be seen at the top, that is the terminal or axial, that is the position of the flower. Next one, so you have discussed about 3 characteristics. Next one, it is the pod shape. You know that, have you seen the beans? Normal pea plant, for preparing the thorn and all, normal pea plant. Yes, so that is that outer covering is the pod. Inside the pod only you can see the seed. Those who haven't seen it, please go and ask your mother. She will show you that. Normal long pea and short pea also there for preparing the thorn. We often use it. Clear? So when we open that outer covering only, we can see the seeds. So this that's known as the pod. That long thing is the pod, and pod shape may be inflated, and another one, it is the constricted. Inflated means what? Normal, beautiful size. Constricted means what? Yes. So chulingirikya. What about inflated? Enlarged. Beautiful size, that is a normal, that's inflated. Constricted means what? Wrinkles are, it shrinks. Churinga, that is the constricted. Then pod color, some yellow and some green. Pod color, some beautiful bright green, some yellow. Then total how many? 1, 2, 3, 5. Then about the seed color. Same, green. Some seeds are green and some seeds are yellow. Next one, the seed shape. Seed shape, round. Some seeds are round and some seeds are wrinkled. So these are the 7 characteristics or 7 contrasting characteristics of the garden peat plant. They are the height. You know, some plants are tall and some plants are short. Next one, color of the flower. Some flowers are white, some are purple or violet. The position of the flower, in some plants, flowers can be seen in the side, so we can call it as axial. In some plants, we could see the flowers at the top, that is the terminal. Then pod, that covering, outer covering, that the peat plant is a pod. That pod shape, some beautifully inflated shape, some is what? Constricted or shrinked shape. Pod color, color of the pod. It is yellow, and some plants are having what? Green. And what about the color of the seed? Normally the seed we use, isn't it? Seed color is what? Green. In some plants it is green and some plants it is yellow. Last one, the shape of the seed. Some seeds are round and some seeds are wrinkled. It's because of these reasons Mendel selected which plant? Garden pea plant for doing his experiments. Easy to grow, short lifespan, bisexual flowers, easily distinguishable characteristics. And how many characteristics are there? 7 characteristics are there. So, it's because of these reasons Mendel selected the garden pea. Now we are going to study how Mendel proved by doing a particular experiment to show us that how these characters are transmitted. Mendel first selected only one pair of contrasting characters. 7 pairs are there. But as Mendel wanted to find out, and he started his experiments by selecting only one pair of contrasting characters, and that is tall and the dwarf. Dwarf means what? Short. So he started his experiment by doing the experiment of selecting what characters? Tall and dwarf. Of course, this tall plant is all having that other 6 characteristics. Dwarf plant is also having other 6 characteristics. But in the beginning, Mendel concentrated only on Zinkel character. As he started his experiment, he only selected what? Zinkel pair of contrasting characters. So he selected one plant as one tall plant. He selected what? One tall plant, and another one what? Another one short plant. He selected one tall plant, another one is the short plant. Of course, don't think that these plants, they do not have any other characteristics. They all have all the characteristic features of all the plants, but still Mendel concentrated only on the height of the plant. So one is tall, another one is dwarf or the short plant. Yes, so here you could say that he selected the pure tall. Or the pure dwarf, of course, that is pure dwarf means the plant should be completely dwarf and it should be completely tall. Then we will discuss what is pure tall and what is pure dwarf. So, you know that he selected 2 plants. As we all know, this pea plant, they reproduce by means of sexual reproduction. That means they receive the features or characteristics from both the parent. And you know that as Mendel believed that these are the factors. That means one factor receives from the father and one factor receives from the mother. Now we can call it as what? Gene. Well, we could see the gene chromosome, right? Chromosome, you could see the DNA, double helix model, and the DNA, we could see the gene. So as first you should understand, every character is controlled by 2 genes. Every character of us, or not only human being, all the sexually reproducing organism, every character is controlled by 2 genes. Why 2 genes? One gene coming from father, one gene coming from mother. It is because of that. Every character, that means our hair color, as I'm talking about the human being, our eye, our hair color, our body color, our shape, our size, all are influenced by both the parents. So one gene we get from father and one gene we get from mother. Similarly, in the case of pea plant also same thing happened. You know that it receives, every character of the pea plant is controlled by 2 genes. That time Mendel did not know about the term gene. So he called it as what? Factors. Mendel, he did not know about the genes that time. That term was coined, gene was coined after so many years. So that time Mendel did not know. So he called it as what? Factors. So one character is controlled by how many factors? 2 factors. So here now we can come to this tallness is controlled by two factors. What about then? He indicated the tallness at what? Capital T, very important. Tallness, he had given the letter capital T. So, as two factors are controlling the tallness, he had given what? 2 capital T. Then what about dwarfness? Just opposite, small t, small t. Clear up to here? So, tallness, as the plant is tall, two factors are there that make the plant tall. So, he had given that factors the letter T. It was given by him only T, and 2T, one from father, one from mother. And what about the dwarf? 2 small t. Clear? Yes. Okay, then we can separate these two. This capital T into small t, small t. So first, two, they are standing together. Tall plant, dwarf plant. But what happened? This is the case of all the cells. But in the case of, in the case of human beings also, all the cells in our body contains 23 pairs of chromosomes. But which cells do not have that? Yes, sperm and ovum. Similarly, in the case of all the sexually reproducing organism also, the sex cells or maybe the ovum, maybe here also the male gamete as well as the female gamete, they have half the chromosome. They have only half the chromosome. So here we can separate it what? TT. Here also what? TT. Then what happens? You can just write here the form of a square representation. Father, TT, mother, TT. This square is known as the Punnett square. This square is known as the Punnett square. So here the paternal is written here and maternal or mothers is written in the left side. Fathers or paternal is written on the top and maternal or mothers is written in the side. So here what happened? Just tell me. Capital T, small t, here capital T, small t, here capital T, small t and capital T, small t. So what happened here? See. Capital T, small t, capital T, small t, capital T, small t, capital T, small t. Same here also. Clear? Yes. So here, when he observed the plants, after doing this, he observed. Can you tell me which type of pollination is there? That's very important. It is the cross-pollination. You know why it is known as cross-pollination? It is between the two plants. One is dwarf and another one is tall. And the first generation, it is known as what? First filial, very important term, first filial generation. The first filial generation, it is termed like that. The first generation, Mendel, what was the result Mendel got? All are similar plants. We crossed Mendel crossed one tall and one dwarf. But what was the result? He got the seeds, newly produced offsprings, all look alike. And he observed that he really got surprised to see that all the plants were what? Tall. See, all the plants, their genetical gene structure is like this. But what about the appearance? All the plants were tall. Then what happened to this dwarf? One of the parent was dwarf. But what happened? In the first generation, no child or no offspring showed what? Dwarfness. All the offsprings that were produced, they were tall. Mendel was really surprised to see that. And he got really confused. What happened to that dwarfness? Where did it go? And he was really in a confused stage. So, up to here, I will tell once again. Mental, he selected first a pair of contrasting characters. First he selected the height of the plant. So he crossed what? Tallness. He crossed, or he did cross pollination, and he allowed the tall plant as the father and dwarf plant as the mother, and he allowed them to do the cross pollination. And in the first generation, you should write like this. These are the, okay, these are the two gametes. Okay, capital T here, small t. You should separate like this and write. Then you can write in the form of Punnett square, or likewise also you can write. Then you know when it crosses, this was the result. All the offsprings, they were tall. That happened in the first generation. We can call it as what? First filial generation. What is that? First filial generation. All the offsprings were short or dwarf or tall. Tall. Then Mendel was really in a confusion. What happened? Then he did know what? Just wait. Yes, here it is Montes, okay. So here all the plants are tall. So you know that what he got? Father. Second step, which type of pollination he preferred? Self-pollination. Then what specialty of self-pollination? How many parents are involved in it? Single parent, isn't it? Single parent is involved in it. So you want to find out why it's happened so. What happened to this dwarfness? He expected actually what? Can you guess? It's in medium plants. He expected the medium plants, or at least he must have expected at least one dwarf plant. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. So he wanted to do there is a second F2 generation. He allowed the plants to do the self-pollination. So one is, see, okay. So here write up. See, father, capital T, small t. Mother also, see, father, capital T, small t. Mother also, capital T, small t. Then shall we cross it? One T from here and one T from here. Here, capital T, small t. Then here, capital T, small t. Last one, small t, small t. See, one capital T, capital T. Can you tell me which type of plant it will be? Yes, tall. What about this? Capital T, small t. Again, tall. What about capital T, small t? Again, tall. What about small t, small t? Dwarf. Clear? In the first generation, he couldn't see any dwarf plant. But after self-pollinating, the first generation, in the second generation, he was really surprised to see what? Dwarf. One dwarf plant. All other were what? Tall, you know, all the others. So how many? 1, 2, 3. What about dwarfness? Yes, 1. So what's the ratio? 3:1. 3:1 ratio. In the F2, this generation is known as what? F2 generation or second filial generation. In the first generation, he got only tall plants. But in the second generation, unexpectedly, he could manage to get what? Dwarf plant also, and that was in the ratio. If 4 plants were formed, 3 tall and 1 dwarf. So, as a ratio only, don't think that only 4 plants were formed. It was a ratio, I think about nearly 1,000 something tall plants and, total plants, among that 100 something, I think tall and the balance dwarf. Likewise, only it happened. So, when he took the ratio, it came out like this. 3. If 4 plants were formed, 3 were tall and 1 was dwarf. So, in the case of this first parent, the F1 generation, no, he crossed only tall plant, isn't it? But what happened? That dwarf character was hidden there. You know that? It is already hidden. When we observe the genetical makeup, it was already there. But it didn't express itself. In the first generation, the dwarfness character, it was kept hidden. Such characters are known as what? Recessive character. The character that remain hidden, such a character is known as what? Recessive character. Recessive character. Here now, tallness or dwarfness, which one is the recessive character? Yes, it's the dwarfness. Small t, it was the recessive character, or we could say it is the dwarf. Dwarfness is the recessive character. And what about the dominant? Which character expresses in the first generation? Which character? And that character we can call it as what? Dominant. Which character? It is the tallness. Tallness is the dominant character. Why it is known as dominant character? Because it expresses in the first generation. And what happened to the dwarfness? That dwarf character remains hidden or recessive. Then what happens in the second generation? The hidden or recessive dwarfness appears in the second generation. In this manner, Mendel explained the transmission of characters or the mechanism of inheritance. And such type of ratio or such type of cross, and how many characters is selected? Only one pair of characters, and such, this is known as what? Monohybrid. Monohybrid cross. Very, very important. Why this cross is known as monohybrid cross? Only one pair of characters were, of course, you know that these plants, they were having all the 7 characters. But Mendel gave importance only to a single pair of characters for finding out the relation. So as Mendel gave importance only to a pair of contrasting, mono means what? Single. As he had given importance only to a single pair of contrasting character, such cross is known as monohybrid cross. Such cross is known as what? Monohybrid cross. As he selected only a single pair of contrasting character, that cross is known as what? Monohybrid cross. As he selected only a single pair of contrasting character, that cross is known as monohybrid cross. And the ratio he got there is 3:1, right? Such ratio is known as what? Monohybrid cross ratio. Monohybrid cross ratio. As only one pair of characters are involved, it is known as monohybrid cross. As the ratio, 3:1, as it is formed after the crossing of only single character, it is known as what? Monohybrid cross ratio. Clear? What is that? 3:1. And here, once again, I will repeat the steps. First one, Mendel selected how many plants? One tall and one dwarf. And one is the tall plant, another one is the dwarf plant. And what happened is, these are the gametes. Gametes should be circled like this. Okay, gametes should be circled like this. And what happened in the first generation? Tell me, all the plants are tall. All the plants are tall in the first generation. There is here, which type of pollination? Cross pollination. The first section, he preferred to do the cross pollination because how many parents are involved? 2 parents are involved. So, 2 plants. So, cross pollination. And the first generation, he got only the tall plants. So, in the first generation, he got all the plants as tall. So, now he wanted to find out what happens to this dwarf. So, he allowed the plant to do the self-pollination. So, self-pollination means how many plants are involved? Single plant and the single flower, isn't it? Single plant and single flower is involved. So, he allowed to do the, both parents are the same. Father and the mother. So, we can just represent it through the Punnett square. Father, capital T, small t. Mother, capital C, small t. Capital T, capital T. Capital T, small t, capital T, small t and small t, small t. Hope it is clear. Crossing to T. Sorry, capital T, small t, capital T. Okay. So here, when we observe it carefully, we could see that in or you could see both parents or both gametes are or both genes are capitals. Only one. So this is known as the pure tall. That means no combination is there. Pure tall, or we can call this what? Homologous pair. Homologous means what? Same. Both are same. Capital T, capital T. And just observe this. It's a combination, right? Capital T, small t and capital T, small t. Both. They are the intermediate. They have the combination of both. One capital T, that's the one dwarfness trait is there. Along with that, one tallness trait is also there. That doesn't mean that they appears to be short. They appears to be tall because here tall is the dominant trait. While if it appears to be dwarf, then you should understand that it is the dominant trait. But here, which is the dominant trait? Tall is the dominant trait. Why Mendel comes to know this tall is the dominant trait? So simple. In the first generation, he got only tall plants. If he got all the dwarf plants, definitely the answer should have completely changed. But he got all the dwarf plants. All the plants as tall in the first generation, and the dwarfness was recessive or hidden there. And it appears in the second generation. So here only one pure tall. So just observe the ratio. Capital T, how many are there? 1. Capital T, small t, how many are there? Tell me. 2. Then what about small t? 1. So what's the ratio? 1:2 is to 1. This ratio we can, these are mono-hybrid cross ratio. Along with that, we can call it as what? Phenotypic ratio. Phenotypic ratio. 3:1 because the expressive ratio, it is known as the phenotypic ratio. Expressive character, that is the tallness. 3 tall and 1 dwarf. Then what? Then 1:2:1. 1:2:1. It is known as the genotypic ratio. 1:2:1. It is known as the genotypic ratio. 1:2:1. Why it is known as genotypic ratio? Ratio of the gene. What the gene see? Inside the chromosome, right? So internal ratio, that's the genotypic ratio, is 1:2:1. Why? 1 is pure tall, 2 is intermediate, 1 is the dwarf. 3:1 is the phenotypic ratio. Why? Because the expressive character, 3 tall and 1 dwarf. Clear? That's a phenotypic ratio, 3:1, and genotypic ratio, that's a ratio of the genes or genetical makeup, that is 1:2:1. This question can be frequently asked for the examination. Like the phenotypic ratio, maybe asked for the genotypic ratio, you may be asked for the cross. Clear? Yes. So, second generation is the F2 generation only. Mendel got the ratio 3:1. Clear? After doing this crossing, he got the ratio 3:1. That is the phenotypic ratio. 1:2:1. That is the genotypic ratio. Clear? This is how Mendel explained how the characters are transmitted by selecting only one pair of contrasting characters. And you should understand one more thing. From this, he put forward 2 laws. From this monohybrid cross, he put forward 2 laws. First one is what? Law of dominance. First one is law of dominance. Who can guess what is meant by law of dominance? When a pair of contrasting characters are crossed, in the first generation, only one character appears to be dominant, and the other character remain recessive. That is known as what? Law of dominance. What is law of dominance? When a pair of contrasting characters are crossed in the first generation, when tallness and dwarfness are crossed, in the first generation, which character only appears? Tallness. And that is known as what? From this, he put forward the law of dominance. Clear? when a pair of contrasting characters are crossed, in the first generation only one character appears to be dominant and other character remain recessive. That character that expresses is known as dominant character. The character that remains hidden is known as recessive character. The character that appears is known as dominant character. The character that remains hidden or is known as what? Recessive character. So this is known as what? Law of dominance. And second one, it is the law of segregation. Law of segregation. You know what is segregation? It is separation. When a pair of contrasting characters are crossed, you know that when a pair of contrasting, that is the, even when a pair of contrasting characters are crossed, what happened? At the time of gamete formation, they separate, isn't it? What happened? They separate to form what? Two gametes. They separate to form what? Two gametes. That is known as what? Law of segregation. When a pair of contrasting characters are crossed, even though the gametes, even though the genes, they remain together, but at the time of gamete formation, you could see very clearly here, they separate to form what? Two gametes. They separate and segregate, and what happened? They combines with, you know, this T can combines with this T. This T can combines with this T. Okay. Likewise, it can happen. So, that is known as what? Law of segregation. So, from this monohybrid cross, Mendel put forward two laws, law of dominant and law of segregation. And one more thing I want to tell you about this. When Mendel selected, as I told you, two plants, isn't it? One tallness and one dwarf. Just understand only that. He selected one. After this, you are going to watch a video. In that, it will be explained very clearly how it happens. That is, Mendel selected one tall plant, isn't it? One tall plant is there, and one, it is the dwarf plant. And tall plant, it is the father, and dwarf plant, it is the mother. So, Mendel want to give more concentration to the mother, right? You know what? Here, this is the flower. You could say just, you know that one female structure and you know numerous male structures are there. Clear? Okay. So here of course same thing happen. You know the same thing happen here also. Clear? Numerous stamens are there. Clear? Yes. So here he doesn't want to give much attention to this because it's a father plant. Fertilization takes place in the mother plant, right? So here, as the pea plant is growing in the garden, of course, the stigma is there ready to receive the pollen grain. So it receives pollen grain from different flowers. Sometimes maybe from the other pea plant. Mendel want to have a cross between tall and dwarf plant. So he doesn't want this flower to remain as such. If it is completely free, other plants are there, other pea plants are there, these pollen grains can fall on it. If it may be a short plant, then the Mendel's experiment will not be successful. So you know what happened? Mendel cover this by using a polythene bag. Mendel cover this flower by using a polythene bag. Before covering it with a polythene bag, another danger is there. What happened? Here this stamen, and the pollen grains are there. It can also fall on it. Am I right? Cell pollination can also happen because they are very close to each other. Mendel is only covering the flower as such. So inside the flower, male structures and female structures are there. So pollen grains can fall on it. Am I right? Yes. So Mendel do what? He removed the anther. And that process is known as what? Emasculation. Cutting and removing the anther. Removing the anther of the mother plant. Father plant, nothing need to do it. Mother plant removing the anther. Then if the anthers are removed, all these anthers are removed, then he can prevent what? Self-pollination. Then what happened? If it attained maturity, he could take the pollen grains from this tall plant and by using the brush and can be kept on this. By using the brush, he can separate the pollen grain and this pollen grain can be kept over the stigma, and usually you know what happens. The seeds are formed, the fruit is formed, so likewise the fertilization takes place and he will get so many, or he had got so many generation also. So hope it is clear about the monohybrid ratio. So my dear children, I would like to give you a work. So here you know Mendel crossed one pair of characters, that is the tall and the dwarf. I want you to do a cross by selecting size of the shape of the seed. Some seeds are round and some seeds are wrinkled. Some seeds are round and some seeds are wrinkled. So I want, before the next class, I want you to do the cross. Mendel had given what? Round, capital R, and wrinkled, small r. This is a clue for you. Mendel, you want to do the first and second generation. He selected round and wrinkled seeds. Round seeds, one quality is a round seed, another one is a wrinkle. So he had denoted round as capital R and wrinkled as what? Small r. So I would like you to do the cross. So before the next class, you should send me the answer. You should draw it in an assignment sheet. Do the cross and send to me before the next class. 1 week is there for you. Before that, you know, every Friday only we are having the class. So you should send me by Wednesday. Next Wednesday, you should send me the answer. So round and wrinkle. Clue is there. Round is denoted as capital R and wrinkle small r, small r. So with this, today's class I am going to wind up. So one more cross is there, that is the dihybrid cross. That means Mendel selected 2 pairs of characteristics. Today we discussed about mono. Next class we are going to discuss about dihybrid cross ratio. So before that, you should be thorough with this monohybrid. If any doubt is there, you are free to call me. You are free to clarify your doubt through WhatsApp, or you are free to call me also, dear children. Otherwise, you will not understand the second cross. Clear? Yes. So meanwhile, do the homework also and send to my personal WhatsApp number. So my dear children, be safe at home. It's bye from me. Take care.
Monohybrid cross. Mendel's monohybrid experiment cross is as follows. Tall pea plants and dwarf pea plants were selected for this experiment. Of these, one was used as maternal plant and the other as paternal plant. From the maternal plant flower, the anthers were carefully removed. This process is called emasculation. From the paternal plant, the pollen grains were carefully removed by a fine brush, and these were deposited on the stigma of the maternal plant. After this artificial fertilization, the maternal flower was covered with a polythene cover. The seeds produced were collected and allowed to germinate. The plants thus produced is F1 generation. F1 generation plants are all tall. T. In the next step, Mendel allowed the F1 generation plant to self-pollinate. As a result, the plants formed can be called as F2 generation. Second generation or F2 generation includes 3 tall plant and 1 dwarf plant. So, the ratio of alternate characters, namely tallness and dwarfness, appears in F2 generation as 3:1. This ratio is called monohybrid ratio. In this experiment, only one character, that is tallness, was expressed in F1 generation, and the alternate character, dwarfness, remained hidden.